Okay, let's kick things off. We're talking about bringing things to life today.
Uh-huh.
Not, Frankenstein style, but digitally. Think about those amazing creatures in movies or the worlds in video games, even architectural models.
Yeah, they all start somewhere, with someone basically shaping digital air.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that shaping, that foundation, it's the work of a 3D modeler.
Right, that's the core of it.
And that's our focus for this deep dive. We've gathered some really great material, a job guide, detailed software reviews, and some fascinating chats from online forums where modelers talk shop.
Yeah, lots of good stuff. And our goal here is to kind of sift through all that and pull out the essentials for you.
We want you to get a really clear idea of what 3D modelers do, the skills they need, that mix of art and tech.
And how you might actually become one. Plus, we'll look at the tools, especially the rise of software like Blender. That's a big topic right now.
Definitely. So let's start right there. When we say 3D modeler, what's the actual role?
Okay, so at its heart, a 3D modeler is the person, the artist, the technician who actually builds the objects you see in a 3D digital space.
Characters, buildings, props.
Anything, really. Characters, environments, machines, abstract forms. If it exists digitally in 3D, someone modeled it.
And it's not just movies and games, right? These skills pop up elsewhere.
Oh, absolutely. Games and films are huge, obviously. But the sources point to architecture, product design, medical visualization, scientific simulations. It's surprisingly broad.
So their job is basically taking an idea, maybe a sketch, and building it in the software.
Pretty much. They use specialized programs, we'll get into those, to sculpt, shape, add texture, refine everything until it matches the concept and works for its intended purpose.
And they're not just isolated artists.
No, not usually. Collaboration is key. That model has to fit into a bigger picture.
Right.
So they're constantly talking to animators, designers, developers, directors, making sure the model works technically, looks right, fits the style.
Sounds like you need a specific mindset, what qualities come up in the sources.
Attention to detail is huge, like really noticing the small things. Wiggles, scratches, how light hits a surface.
That adds the realism.
Exactly. And creativity, of course, and artistic eye, but also, technical skill, problem solving. It's a blend.
Let's talk more about that blend, the skills. It really sounds like art meets tech.
It absolutely is. On the technical side, you obviously need to master the software.
Like Blender, Maya, ZBrush,
Yeah.
those names.
Yeah, those are the big ones. You need to be really proficient in at least one, probably familiar with a couple, depending on what you want to specialize in.
Okay, software fluency. What else technically?
Understanding topology and geometry, that's like the underlying structure, the wireframe.
Why is that so important?
Because good topology, clean, organized, makes the model deform well for animation, texture properly, and run efficiently in, say, a game engine. It's crucial.
Got it.
Then there's texturing and UV mapping. That's how you put the skin on the model, the colors, the materials.
You mentioned UV mapping is like flattening a box.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. You unfold the 3D model into a 2D map, paint your texture onto that map, and the software wraps it back around the 3D shape. Tools like Substance Painter are huge for this.
Okay. And lighting, is that part of it too?
Often, yeah. Lighting and rendering, knowing how to set up lights to make your model look good, and understanding how the computer calculates the final image.
Right.
And even some basic animation knowledge helps. Understanding rigging, how things move. You need to build models so they can be animated well, even if you're not the animator.
Makes sense. So that's the tech side. What about the art side? The soft skills?
Well, creativity and artistic vision are fundamental. You need that sense of shape, color, proportion.
And the detail thing again.
Absolutely. Attention to detail. Plus, communication and teamwork are vital. You're giving and getting feedback constantly.
And deadlines, I assume.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Time management is critical. Film and games move fast.
It was interesting that the sources really pushed traditional art skills too. Drawing, sculpting.
It makes total sense. Those skills, drawing, understanding anatomy, perspective, real-world sculpting, they build your core understanding of form, light, weight.
So it translates directly to digital.
Directly. Many top digital modelers started traditionally. It just gives you a stronger foundation, a better eye for making things look believable, even if they're fantastical. Practicing those skills helps your 3D work, definitely.
Okay, so we know the job, we know the skills. If someone listening is thinking, yeah, I want to do that, what's the path? What do the sources suggest?
There's a fairly consistent roadmap. First step, learn the fundamentals.
The basics of the software, but also those art principles.
Exactly. Don't just learn buttons. Learn why you're doing things. Understand form, light, good topology right from the start.
Then dive deep into the software.
Right. Master 3D modeling software. Pick a primary tool, maybe Blender because it's free, or Maya if you're aiming for film, and get really good at it. Explore others too, eventually.
And then you need proof you can do it.
The portfolio.
Yeah.
Build a strong portfolio. This is everything.
What makes a strong portfolio, according to the sources?
Variety helps characters, props, environments maybe. But crucially, show your process. Include wireframes, texture breakdowns. Employers want to see your technical skill, not just pretty pictures.
What about school? Like a degree or course?
It's an option. A professional course can give you structure, expert feedback, connections. The sources mention places like ESMA.
But it's not the only way.
Definitely not. Loads of amazing modelers are self-taught, using online tutorials, practicing like crazy. A course can accelerate things, but dedication and a great portfolio are what really count.
All right, let's get into the tools themselves. The software landscape seems complicated. Lots of options.
It is diverse, yeah, because different tools excel at different things. Like Autodesk Maya. It's often called an industry standard, especially for film, animation, VFX.
Why Maya specifically for that?
It's got incredibly deep features for character rigging, animation, and complex simulations, fire, water, cloth, that sort of thing. Really powerful.
Round set.
Well, it needs a beefy computer, it can have a steep learning curve, and it's expensive, subscription model. But it runs on Windows, Mac, and Linux.
Okay, and its sibling, 3ds Max.
Also Autodesk. 3ds Max is huge in games, architecture, and interior design. It's really strong for modeling hard surfaces, think buildings, vehicles, props. Great texturing and mesh tools, too.
Anything specific noted about Max?
It supports different modeling types, polygons, NURBS for smooth curves, patches. Some sources mention it can get a bit unstable if you load it up with too many plugins. And it's Windows only, also subscription.
Moving on, ZBrush seems to be its own category, the sculpting king.
Absolutely. ZBrush is all about high detail sculpting. It's like working with digital clay.
So less about placing individual points in line.
Exactly. You use brushes to push, pull, carve, add incredible detail. Perfect for organic stuff, characters, creatures, wrinkles, scales. Very intuitive for artists, so the interface is unique.
What else is it good for?
iRes models for film or illustration, and preparing models for 3D printing. It's pretty essential for many pipelines. Runs on Windows and Mac.
What about something for maybe beginners or architects?
SketchUp comes up a lot there. It's known for being really easy to learn and use, great for quickly blocking out buildings or concepts.
And it has that free version.
Yeah, the free web version is a big plus for hobbyists or architects starting out. It has huge libraries of pre-made objects too.
Limitations.
It's not great for complex organic shapes, and the built-in rendering in the free lower tiers is pretty basic. So models can look a bit blocky without extra tools. Runs on Windows and Mac, but the top version is Windows only.
Okay. And Rhino. That one sounds specialized too.
Rhino's strength is NURBS modeling.
NURBS, remind me.
Non-uniform rational B-splines. Basically, it uses math to create perfectly smooth, precise curves and surfaces.
So good for cars, airplanes.
Exactly. Product design, industrial design, jewelry, architecture, anything needing super precise, smooth forms. It can handle meshes and sculpting too, but NURBS is its main thing.
Learning curve.
Can be steep, yeah. And the interface isn't always seen as the most modern. But a huge plus, they offer a perpetual license. You buy it once.
That is rare now.
Very. And a long 90-day trial. Windows and Mac.
Lastly, the Substance tools for texturing.
Yeah, Adobe Substance 3D, specifically Substance Designer and Substance Painter. These are pretty much the go-to for texturing now.
Designer versus Painter.
Substance Designer is for creating materials, often procedural ones like generating wood grain or metal patterns using a node graph. It's super powerful but takes time to learn. Used in big movies and games.
And Painter.
Substance Painter is for applying those materials and painting details directly onto your 3D model, like Photoshop but in 3D. Much more intuitive for artists applying textures, dirt, wear, and tear. Used everywhere in games.
So they work together often.
Very often. Create a base material in Designer, then customize and paint details onto your specific model in Painter. It's a killer workflow for realism.
Okay, fantastic overview. Now that promised deep dive, Blender. The source has really highlighted its massive growth, especially in game development. What's driving that?
Well, the number one reason is impossible to ignore. It's free, completely open source.
Which is a game changer, right? For indies, students, smaller studios.
Absolutely huge, taking away thousands of dollars in license fees per artist. That frees up serious budget. But it's not just free anymore. Blender is incredibly capable now.
The all-in-one package idea.
Exactly. You can do modeling, sculpting, UVs, texturing, rigging, animation, rendering, compositing, video editing, even 2D animation. It covers so much of the pipeline.
So you don't need 5 different programs necessarily.
Less often, yeah. Plus, the performance has gotten really good. Things like the EV real-time render engine are amazing for previews, especially for game assets. GPU acceleration helps handle complex stuff.
And the community aspect, that seemed important in the sources.
Oh, massively important. The Blender community is enormous, passionate, and incredibly helpful. Tons of free tutorials, plugins, support forums. It makes learning way easier and less intimidating.
So how is it actually being used in game development?
It's become a cornerstone for indie studios. Cost is one thing, but it's powerful enough to create assets that look fantastic. Games like Hollow Knight, A Short Hike, sources mentioned Stardew Valley used it too. There was a case study on Crumb Battle Arena using it effectively.
Just breaking into bigger studios too.
It seems like it. Art outsourcing studios are definitely using it. Places like retro-style games, Blenderhead Studios, IXE Studio uses it for AR/VR. Even some AAA studios are integrating it, like Ubisoft.
What does a typical Blender-based game asset workflow look like?
Pretty standard stuff, really. Concept, blockout, detailed modeling, optimized for the game engine, UV unwrapping, texturing, maybe using texture atlases to save memory, rigging and animation if needed, then setting up basic lighting or materials for export.
And there's real industry backing now, not just grassroots.
That's a huge development. Epic Games, the Unreal Engine people, gave Blender a massive grant, over $1 million, specifically to improve how well it works with Unreal.
Wow.
Intel is helping optimize it too, and they're working on better Unity integration. That kind of buy-in from major players plus corporate sponsors shows Blender is being taken very seriously.
Any difficulties for studios adopting it?
Sure. If a studio has decades of pipeline built around, say, Maya, just dropping Blender in isn't seamless. It takes effort, workflow changes, training, maybe custom tools. But studios are figuring it out, often using it alongside other software.
And the overall economic effect.
Significant savings on licenses, obviously. Plus, the versatile toolset and free learning resources. It lowers the barrier to entry and offers a great return on investment, especially for smaller teams.
It really feels like it's helping indie games compete visually.
It absolutely is. It allows small teams to achieve really high-quality 3D art that might have been out of reach before, and platforms like Sketchfab or ArtStation help Blender artists get their work seen.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground on software. Maya, Max, ZBrush, SketchUp, Rhino, Substance, and now Blender. Given all that, what's the verdict from the community, the job listings? What software is really most used? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is. And the answer from all the sources is, well, it depends. There's no single winner across the board.
Depends on the industry. Studio size.
Exactly. Film is different from games, which is different from architecture. AAA studios might have different standard tools than indie studios. Even region can play a part.
But there are still those perceived standards.
Yeah, traditionally, Maya and 3ds Max have been seen as the big industry standards, especially in North America. Maya for film animation pipelines, rigging. Max, very strong in games, architecture, hard surface stuff.
And Blender's position now.
It's growing incredibly fast. It's dominant among many indies and freelancers. And like we said, it's making serious inroads into larger studios, too. Some big names are officially supporting its use internally.
What about the specialists, like ZBrush and Substance?
They're essential. ZBrush for sculpting is basically a requirement in many character or creature pipelines. Substance Painter and Designer for texturing. They're pretty much the standard now, especially in games. And things like Houdini for complex effects are crucial in VFX.
So if you're starting out, do you have to learn Maya or Max first?
You know, this was maybe the clearest message from the community discussions.
Yeah.
Your skills and your portfolio matter way more than the specific software you learned on.
Really?
Yeah. If you have strong fundamentals, you understand modeling, topology, form, light, texturing, and you can show that in a great portfolio, you can learn a new tool. The core skills transfer. A studio would rather hire a brilliant artist who knows Blender than a mediocre one who knows Maya.
So focus on the art and the technical foundations first.
Absolutely. Build those core skills, make amazing work. The specific software is secondary, though obviously knowing the tools common in your target industry helps.
What's a typical day actually like for a 3D modeler?
It sounds like a mix. You might be looking at concept art, blocking out basic shapes, then spending hours sculpting fine details in ZBrush. Or maybe you're optimizing a model's polygon count so it runs well in a game, fixing UV maps, responding to feedback from the art lead.
So creative work, but also technical problem solving.
Exactly. A constant back and forth. Deadlines are definitely part of it, but the sources also talk about the satisfaction of seeing your work come alive.
And career-wise, is it a growing field?
Seems so. The demand for 3D content is booming. Games, film, VR, AR, architecture, product visualization. They all need skilled modelers. So yeah, the outlook seems strong if you keep learning and improving.
Any idea on salary ranges? Ballpark figures.
So the sources gave some estimates, but it varies a lot by experience, location, industry. Roughly entry level might be around 50K US, mid-level maybe 70K to 90K, and seniors or leads over $100. Freelance rates are all over the place.
Okay. And finally, any quick tips from the sources for actually breaking into the field?
Yeah, a few common threads. Specialize, get really good at characters or environments or hard surface. Practice constantly. Personal projects are key. Network, get active online, places like ArtStation, forums. Show your work. And try to get some real-world experience, even small freelance gigs or contributing to mods or open-source projects. It really helps build that portfolio and shows you can work professionally.
Right, so we've really covered a lot today in this deep dive into 3D modeling. Defined the role, looked at that crucial mix of art and tech skills.
Yeah, navigated the whole software landscape, the big players like Maya and Max, essentials like ZBrush and Substance.
And spent some good time on Blender, understanding its rise, the free open source angle, the power, the community, especially in games.
While also seeing how it fits, or sometimes clashes, with existing studio pipelines.
We also tackled that most used software question, realizing it's more about the job and less about one tool, with specialized software being super important.
And we touched on the day-to-day, the career path, the demand, how to get started.
I think the biggest takeaway, echoing through all the sources, was that the tools are crucial, yes, but they're still just tools.
Exactly. Your artistic eye, your understanding of form, light, structure, your attention to detail, and just your ability to learn and adapt. That's what makes the difference. The best software is the one you master, the one that lets you create your best work, because those core skills, they go anywhere.
And as these tools, like Blender, become even more powerful and accessible, and we see this constant hunger for more digital content everywhere.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What amazing new things, what entirely new worlds will artists be able to create when the barriers to bringing anything imaginable into 3D keep falling?